Do you ever feel like you have big dreams, but just can't find the energy to start? You tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow, but tomorrow never seems to come. If that sounds familiar, then this story is for you. Once, there was a young woman named Anya. She was full of amazing ideas and grand ambitions, dreaming of writing a novel, learning a new language, and starting her own business. But every morning, a heavy blanket of laziness seemed to hold her down. She felt tired, uninspired, and completely unmotivated. The promises she made to herself the night before would dissolve with the morning sun. Just one more day of rest, she'd reason. I'll definitely start tomorrow. But as one day bled into the next, her dreams remained just that, dreams, collecting dust on the shelf of her mind. The gap between who she wanted to be and who she was grew wider, and a quiet frustration began to settle in her heart. She felt trapped in a cycle of procrastination, watching time slip through her fingers. One evening, feeling particularly discouraged after another day of inaction, Anya met with her mentor, an older, wiser man who always seemed to see right through her excuses. He listened patiently as she described her struggle, her voice filled with a mix of guilt and despair. He didn't offer grand speeches or complicated strategies. Instead, he simply handed her a small, empty notebook and a pen. "I want you to do something very simple," he said, his voice calm and steady. "Before you go to sleep tonight, write down one single small task that you will complete tomorrow. Just one. And you must do it no matter how you feel when you wake up." Anya took the notebook, a wave of skepticism washing over her. That's it? She thought. How could writing one thing in a book possibly change the mountain of lethargy she faced every day? It felt too simple, almost pointless. But she trusted her mentor, and out of respect for him, she nodded and promised to try. That night before bed, Anya thought about what to write. Her mind immediately jumped to her big goals. Write the first chapter of my novel. Study Spanish for an hour. But the thought was overwhelming. She remembered her mentor's words. One single small task. So she hesitated, then wrote, "Do a 10-minute exercise routine." It felt almost laughably small, but it was manageable. She closed the notebook and went to sleep, a tiny seed of intention planted in her mind. The next morning, the familiar feeling of grogginess greeted her. The bed felt warm and comfortable, and her mind was already conjuring excuses. I'm too tired. 10 minutes won't make a difference anyway. But then, she remembered the notebook. She remembered her promise. With a deep sigh, she pushed herself out of bed, put on her workout clothes, and started the 10-minute routine. It wasn't easy. Her body felt stiff, and her mind kept wandering. But she pushed through, and when the 10 minutes were up, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time, a tiny but very real spark of accomplishment. It was a small victory, but it was hers. Later that day, she told her mentor what she had done. He smiled knowingly. "How did it feel?" he asked. "Good," Anya admitted, "but it was just 10 minutes. Her mentor leaned forward. "Anya," he said gently, "you are looking for a lightning bolt of motivation to strike you. But motivation is a fickle friend. It comes and goes like the weather. You cannot build your life on something so unreliable. Discipline, however, is different. Discipline is the bridge between your goals and your accomplishments. It's built not with grand gestures, but in small, consistent steps, brick by brick, day after day. What you did this morning, that was building discipline. That will carry you forward long after the feeling of motivation has faded." His words resonated deeply with Anya. She had always thought discipline was about forcing yourself to do things you hated, a form of punishment. But her mentor's perspective shifted her understanding. Discipline wasn't about the feeling, it was about the action. From that day on, Anya continued the habit. Every night she wrote down one achievable goal for the next day. Read 5 pages of a book. Meditate for 3 minutes. Write 1 paragraph. Clean 1 shelf. The tasks were never overwhelming. They were small promises she could keep to herself. Of course, there were days when it was incredibly difficult. Some mornings she felt tired and sluggish. On other days, her mind was buzzing with distractions, pulling her in 100 different directions. On those days, the temptation to skip her task was immense. But in those moments of weakness, she would recall her mentor's voice. Discipline is not about feeling motivated. It's about doing what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. She would take a deep breath, focus on the single task in her notebook, and just start. She learned to honor the commitment she made to herself, treating it as a non-negotiable appointment. Each time she followed through, she was casting a vote for the person she wanted to become. Weeks turned into months. The small, consistent actions began to compound. The 10-minute exercise routines became 30-minute workouts. The 5 pages of reading turned into a chapter, and soon she had finished her first book in years. The single paragraph slowly but surely grew into pages, and the outline of her novel began to take shape. The small tasks grew into bigger projects, and with each completed goal, her confidence soared. One afternoon, as she sat reflecting on her progress, a profound realization washed over her. Discipline wasn't the cage she had once imagined it to be. It wasn't punishment or a joyless chore. Discipline was freedom. It was the freedom from the whims of her fleeting moods. It was the freedom to steer her own ship instead of being tossed around by the waves of motivation and procrastination. It was the freedom to actively create the life she had only dreamed of. It gave her the power to achieve, to grow, and to finally, truly move towards her biggest goals. Anya learned the essential secret that her mentor had tried to teach her. Motivation is what gets you started. It's the spark that ignites the fire, but it's discipline that keeps the fire burning. It's the daily practice of showing up, especially on the days you don't feel like it, that sustains your journey and ultimately turns your dreams into reality. By learning to act even when she didn't feel like it, Anya transformed not just her habits, but her entire life. She was no longer waiting for inspiration to strike. She was building it herself, one small, disciplined step at a time. If this story inspired you and you want to fill your life with more stories that help you learn, grow, and stay motivated, please consider subscribing to our channel, Stories by Heart. We share new stories every week to help you on your journey to becoming a little wiser and more inspired every day. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.